Hey, Danny.
You good?
Yeah, we're good. You get somewhere where you can hear me without manual stuff.
Abilene. You're telling me that it is new. James and Kimberly Elaine. Ron is the guy who you will call, it says. All right, I'm calling Ron's number. Here we go. She works on an oil rig, and she's doing this. What's your excuse?
Hello?
Looking for Ron.
Hello?
Ron?
This is Ron.
Hey, Ron, my name is Danny. I'm looking at some commercial space here in Abilene. I'm interested in renting it from you.
Which property?
This is... There's a little coin laundromat here, among other things.
Correct.
That is the space I'm interested in. I've been doing laundromats in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona for 20-some years. My partner and I are the operators. I don't want you to misunderstand that I'm some kind of salesman or distributor or equipment guy. And we look for infrastructure. You know, the gas, water, electric exists here, and that's what I am always after. So if the timing is correct, we are looking to talk lease terms and then, frankly, spend a bunch of money on washers and dryers. You know, that's what the business is. Advertising on top of that, get the folks in, and hopefully make a few bucks if that makes sense and if you're the right guy.
Sure. We had actually had a contract to sell that entire property a couple of months ago, but it fell through at the final hour.
That happens.
We had been
and you know, in my experience, that happens, Ron, when this potential buyer wants to run a laundromat and also own the dirt, and then they kind of do numbers and they figure out that they don't know anything about laundromats. And I don't know, you know, if it's a car wash, it's a different business. If it's a restaurant, but I'm not sure. That's fairly common where we get to the finish line and then suddenly they back out because, again, they don't know anything about laundromats. I do. And maybe, you know, you can go back. It's my understanding that you work for the landlord and you can go back to them and say, hey, I've got another option. Collect $300,000, but do it in the form of future rent, if that makes sense. Because, you know, it's hard to sell a laundromat that is totally decrepit. We're going to sink $300,000 or $400,000 in washers and dryers into this spot without breaking a sweat.
I understand.
What do we do now? How do I, you know, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I mean, I just want the landlords, the owners of this space to say, you know what, there is another option. Instead of selling the whole kit, let's keep the building, lease it to Danny, and once it's a beautiful, bright, shiny new laundromat, maybe we revisit selling the building because my lease will remain. That should make sense to you.
Sure. Are you in town now?
Yeah.
I could show you the property a little bit later this afternoon. Of course, you can see most of the laundromat space just appearing.
You know, frankly, Ron, this is not a showing that I need to look at. I know that the equipment is still in place, and I don't care about the equipment. It's complete and utter junk. However, behind that equipment is exactly what we are after, the gas, water, electric. So a showing is not necessarily what I need. What I need to know is what the rate of rent would be on a long-term lease. I need a long-term because, again, I'm not looking to dip my toe in the water when I'm spending the money on equipment, and that should make sense.
Right. We could probably get something done for, I'm guessing, we've never priced that space for lease. Let me look here just a second.
Thank you.
I'm going to get there's probably 2,800 square feet there.
Right.
Let me look.
Thank you.
You need to talk. I'm guessing somewhere between around 1,600 or so a month.
Here's the difference. What I am assuming, and I don't want to make assumptions. We all know what that does to you and me. You're looking at what the reasonable and commensurate rate would be. And we are just a little bit different, Ron, because of the fact that it is a laundromat and I need to spend the money on debt service on new equipment. So not to shoot you down, we're pretty close with that figure, but it's going to have to be a little less to begin with I'm assuming reasonable 2.5% increases. Do you know whether or not the landlord, the entity responsible for this space, is interested in leasing it, or do you have to find that out?
No, I think we would entertain. I think they would entertain a lease. That's not a problem. Historically we've offered the space next door, which was originally a convenience store, offered it for lease, and that laundromat has been in place probably for 30 years, and just closed within the past 90 days or so.
Right. Well, time in the game means something when you're a convenience store or a restaurant. I tell you, hey, this pizza place has been there for 40 years. It's probably good sauce. And with a laundromat, the minute they close their doors, the previous goodwill, the consumers are finding another service center. I'm not here to educate you, but nobody keeps their laundry stacked up in the closet until they can find that the previous operated laundromat opens back up. It's sort of an urgent thing where they've got to do their laundry somewhere. So the goodwill has gone.
Hey, I understand that. Tell me what it is you're wanting.
Okay.
How much would you be willing to pay for that space, and what term lease?
I want to put it in writing for you, but first we should talk about it. You're correct. What I need is abatement. Okay. We sign this lease tomorrow, okay? And we need rent abatement. We're going to need some runway, not so that we can get the doors open and have a grand opening, but so that we can get the place retooled. And the worst day in a laundromat operator's life is the day that they open and try to hold a grand opening because nobody comes. It's a matter of word of mouth, folks driving by, people understanding, oh, hey, the laundromat is open again. We do spend on advertising. We do coat drives. We do barbecues. We get the folks in. So we normally ask on a 15-year term for 12 months of abatement, and I'm going to put that in writing. I understand that there is another entity here, the landlords, that you need to discuss this with, but we need to be, and let me ask, this is probably something you can answer. Is there any TI? Do you have any tenant improvement money? Should we expect for you to throw in, and obviously not on our equipment, but the hung ceiling is falling apart. We normally ask the landlord to remove the existing flooring for our work, things of that nature. But the landlord, maybe it's a solid no, and that might change what our ask is.
Typically, the response would be no.
Okay.
They prefer to offer reduced or free rent at the commencement of the lease term to offset some of your out-of-pocket improvement expenses. Sure.
Ron, you're going to find I'm a no shit guy, and that's why I ask. You know them, I don't. Up front, I've got some landlords who have a Walmart on one side of the laundromat and a dollar store on the other, and sometimes they are amicable to large TI versus rent abatement. So if it's one or the other, I get it. I'm not going to bother asking for you to pay for X, Y, and Z in a letter of intent that's only going to be ignored. That was the point. What I am looking for, we can, you give me the square footage again.
There's probably, I'll have to look that up on CAD. There's probably going to be about, I know that the vacant space just to the west of that is 2,400 square feet. And I think that the overall building side is about 5,200. So I'm guessing there's going to be, there's probably 2,800 square feet.
Okay.
Including that little back to the south.
Your ask
Within-
is $1,600 monthly, and is that a gross rate, or are we looking at cam fees, triple nets on top of that? Is that one or the other? Which is it?
It's pretty much gross. That's going to
Okay.
include your produce parking. I mean, of the common area maintenance and the
All
property
in.
tax.
All in.
Yeah.
Okay. What I would like to do, I'm going to put together a letter of intent. I'm telling you my math on this side. My debt service on new equipment is going to be at least 4 times the rent. I know that. We do not intend in any way, shape, or form to try to run this laundromat the way it has been run for a very long time. And so I don't hurt anyone's feelings. Did the landlords ever run the laundry?
Negative.
Okay, good. I like your style. You former military?
No.
Okay. Well, you speak very matter-of-factly. So the place was run into the ground. You've got landlords that are trying to sell the building and or the business. The business is worthless. To me, it's not. I'm after that infrastructure that's there. My partner's name is Jessica. I'm going to CC her in an email to you, and we're going to put together a letter of intent. It's going to, I'm going to start at $1,400 a month, and we're going to look to increase to your rate within the first 2 years.
Okay.
I know that I'm not forgetting anything because this is a simple 1-page letter of intent. We're ready to sign. And for me, I need to get this place retooled, and I need to start with that lease. And secondly, get my distributors in so they can fight over my business and get the equipment in there. So no rush, but we are ready to start this process right away.
Well, let me forewarn you that these owners are primarily engaged in operating a number of oil refineries.
Okay.
And a extensive chain of convenience stores. And this surplus property sometimes sits on the back burner.
Sure.
They're not the most expedient, but I would expect to be able to get a response out of them within hopefully 5 to 7 days.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I mean, stay in touch with me, and I'm very easy to get in touch with. I appreciate what you're saying, and you and I will hash this out and get it done. And it's glad to hear it. I've dealt with folks here in Texas that have oil refineries. I get it. You know, they're printing money. So your candor is much appreciated. What's your best email address?
Initially.
Sure, Danny D'Angelo, Ron. And I'll include, this is my cell phone, and I'm assuming I'm calling you on yours.
That's correct. You're 2066.
Yep, that is correct. I will send, again, I'll send you an informal email first, some before and after photos, what we do in the stores, etc. I'll do that right away. And then ping me back if you don't get it within the hour. I'm sure you will. And give us 24 hours to put together a real letter of intent. Put it in front of the folks. And I understand they're the Elaines. Is that right?
They're Alon?
Yeah. I know who owns the building, or at least I thought I did. Okay, good.
They operate. That's fine. Yeah.
Ron, you're all right. I appreciate you. Hold on to my cell phone and look for that email. We'll talk soon. Looks good so far. Ciao. Are you still alive?
Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh, that's easy.
That was great.
So
that was great.
I think that his formula was to ask for essentially 50 cents a square foot. And, you know, that's great. I mean, it's that area of Texas. It's a good rate, but understand that rather than jump out of my skin and say, oh, shit, howdy, we're going to give you $1,600 all day, every day. I have to ask, is that gross? Is that triple net? I mean, they're adding nothing to that.
Right.
So that rate is really less than 50 cents a square foot. Okay, don't get excited. Tell you what, we'll offer you $1,400 in a letter of intent. And then he comes out and tells us that these are oil folk. Wow. All right. I have dealt with those folks in Texas before. I mean, Jesus, you work on the rigs. So you know the people at the top that are driving around in their Bentleys, they don't even come by and say hello. And he said they are, quote, into oil refineries and an extensive chain of C stores, convenience stores. So these folks, they got their, and you know, that's what's important in the notes, because we have an initial 10-minute phone call with this guy, which is a totally cold call. Good for you for finding the right contact information. And now I have to come off very professionally and say, this is what we want to do, how we want to do it. And they're saying, hey, we tried to sell the building. Do you know in your travels, did you see the building for sale anywhere?
Yes, on the front door. It's through the same Hallmark real estate.
How much?
You would have to go through Ron. It doesn't say anything online. Even when Googling the Hallmark and putting in the location, it says that you have to contact Ron.
Ron, okay. But they literally had a sign for sale in the glass on the laundromat, building laundromat for sale. It's like, okay, what are the chances with the vastness of the internet that somebody's going to drive by who also has the money in their hip pocket to buy the building? It's ridiculous. But okay.
Right.
Oh well, as they say. So have you done an LOI?
I have not.
Okay. Here's what happens. I'm going to send him that email, the canned email that I send out that has before and after pictures of stores, how it all, actually pictures of my stores, how it works. I will CC you in that email. Then I'm going to send you my LOI. Don't freak out. Don't go losing a hand on the job today. When you get home, I'm going to send you explicit instructions on how to do the LOI. It's all plug and play. Go through it, plug in Ron's name, plug in the offer, which is $1,400, et cetera. And then you hear me say all the time, Jessica, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not a counselor, but I will counsel you. An LOI is not a lease, okay? This does not mean that this is your store. You shouldn't start picking out curtains, all right? That's the extent of, I can hear the excitement in your voice, and I'm just telling you, temper your expectations and realize that, sure, this is how it starts. However, you've learned, hey, every phone call doesn't equal even an answer, and every answer isn't a yes. So at the end of the day,
correct,
we need to make them understand what we want to do and how we want to do it. And the truth is, I have had clients at this phase, they drop off the face of the earth. I never hear from them again. And what it is, in their own mind, they're scared to death to succeed. It's the monster under the bed. They're afraid of something that doesn't exist, and that's success. They realize, I am so scared, I'm losing sleep, my hair is falling out, I lost a fucking molar because I'm about to own a small business, and I don't hear from them again. Now, you might say, well, maybe they went and signed the lease behind your back, Danny, whatever else. Well, that doesn't make sense. You want me on your side through this process. So when it comes to it, realize you're either going to work the oil rigs until you die and they suck you dry, or you're going to own a business, or 2 or 10. So there's
or
my
10.
Or 10. There's my motivational speech. I like your style. As promised, you know, this will happen. If you work it, it will work for you. Now I'm sounding motivational. All right, I'm going to send you the emails and do the stuff on my end. Be safe. Appreciate your bosses letting you walk away from the rig when they do.
Hey, next week, do you want to try to call that threefer that I had
We could do
down
whatever you
below?
want. Let's get this guy his LOI.
Okay, that sounds good.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great gal, great young lady who has a good job, right? As oxymoronic as that statement is, good job. Jumbo shrimp, military intelligence. She has a very good job, a very good just over broke, the type of thing that could get her killed, and they pay her as little as possible to pull oil out of the ground. It's Texas. Drill, baby, drill. But she said to herself, I need a way out of this as a young woman. And she started the Google-nator, and she started the YouTube University, the way many of you are right this minute, on this live telephone call. Ask some questions here in the top chat, in the live chat, because I'm going to answer them for you. She, much like you, watched, I don't know, any number of my silly YouTubes, live YouTubes, edited content, me at conferences, me talking to hundreds live, short videos that are meant to be funny and engaging. But the reality is, if you're new to the channel, all I do is help people scoop up coin laundromats for free. Oh my God, nothing's free. Why do you call it free laundromat, Danny? You just talked about hundreds of thousands in equipment, because on the other side of this, the flip side of this coin, is all the silly motherfuckers that are out there selling laundromats and the folks that are buying those laundromats. How does it make sense? Who would sell a successful cash business? I'll wait. No one. The X factor in coin laundries is the equipment, and the equipment doesn't get any younger. It gets older. And if it just sits and does nothing, that's not going to hurt anyone's feelings. But it gets used and abused and broken and obsolete. So now you've got obsolete, broken equipment. It is no longer viable. And you're trying to run a successful business out of it. And you realize, like this landlord did, not a good fit. I've got a better idea. Let's sell it. Let's profit not from the operation of this business, but from the sale of this business. And now that's a sticky widget. And now the conundrum is, why don't you show the figures? Oh, it's a cash business. It's a mess. Hundreds of the folks that I consult with, hundreds of them have already looked into buying laundromats, and their stories are many, and they are horror stories. And it normally leads to one sentence: the sale didn't make sense. It just didn't pass the sniff test. And then they go Google successful laundries, how to find a laundromat, how to buy a laundromat. My silly face comes up, and they either say, oh, this guy, he's slick, he talks fast, he seems too smart for me. How dare he call that person a dipshit? And they go another direction. And that direction is normally not going to do a laundromat. Going to do a franchise or something else. If you want to get in the laundry business, get behind me. Allow me to be not only your shield, but your sword. For the love of God, do it right. Jessica is on her way to either getting this laundromat for free, signing a lease that is pennies on the dollar. Ron didn't have to tell me that they're oil people, that they have a ton of convenience stores, but he did. And that's fortuitous. I don't believe in luck. Let's get to your questions. Good morning, says Silva. Hi. I appreciate the comments, even if it's just howdy. Matt calls us louts. Yes, you are all a bunch of louts. Felix says, good afternoon, everyone. Sure, he must be on the East Coast. Eats Driver, Florida. Are you still listen to your videos as a soothing sound when I used to do deliveries? Now I'm invested in your contact. I think he means I used to listen. He's probably doing talk to text. Get it? You used to listen to my videos as ASMR, soothing sounds. Good luck falling asleep to this, because every now and then you're going to hear a funny sound effect. Wisdom Seeker has a little cheers with glasses. Thanks for that, buddy. Maybe just a tail end of this. Well, it's still on. How do you know it's the tail end? Hello, here in Phoenix, and nothing. I hope you didn't die. Jorge says, what up, Danny, with one N? When you are searching for a place, would you consider a place that doesn't have any of the copper piping or bulkheads? Sure. If I was going to put in a dollar store, but for a laundromat, no. We are after infrastructure each and every time. If the copper is gone, it's no longer a laundry, Jorge. TDG says, hit the thumbs up. Okay. Or did you hit the thumbs up? I'm not here to beg for your thumbs up, but if you want to, great. What I would say is that you should be selfish and you should subscribe to the channel, because I myself never know when I'm going to go live. I don't have a schedule. Folks will attest to this. Like, oh man, I can't believe I made it on a live. Mugen Stylus says, if I found a guy was selling a laundromat with 7 years left on the lease, is it worth pressuring through the landlord to try and sign a new lease? First of all, you're doing it wrong because you're looking for laundromats for sale. You'll find them. When you seek to find laundromats for sale, you'll find them. Now, normally you're in this conundrum where you're trying to figure out where it is. Because online it says, beautiful laundromat, absolutely perfect, thousands of customers a week, millions of dollars in cash, change your life, kill your cat, get a bigger wife. And then a bunch of photographs of the store from 10 years ago with no customers in it. And then a number for a broker that says sign an NDA and we'll tell you one thing. What will they give you then? Once you sign the non-disclosure that says you'll only purchase it through them, they'll give you the address. So what is to stop you from walking into that laundromat? Nothing, but you're in a hurry because you're sitting in your horrible job in your cubicle, hoping the boss doesn't see you while you're not filling out your TPS reports. Instead, you're looking for laundromats for sale. Get out and scout. If you've seen my course, you would know this. Get out and scout. Go look at laundromats. So nothing is stopping you from finding that store on the corner of X and Y Avenue, sitting there, falling apart, decrepit, not like the 10-year-old photographs, but disgusting, with no customers and no money being made. Why do you want it then? Because we're going to change the outlook of the store. We're going to retool it. So your question, back to it. I find a guy who was selling a laundromat with 7 years left on the lease. Is that really true? He tells you it is. Is it 7 years or 7 months? I wouldn't believe it. If he has 7 years remaining, good for him. Who gives a shit? He's probably in arrears. He's selling a failing business. How can I speak so matter-of-factly? Because it's failing him or he wouldn't be selling it. There's many excuses for the sales. Retirement. Retire and have a laundromat. Do it right. Have 7 of them. Great retirement. Is it worth going through the landlord to try and sign a lease? It's worth calling the landlord or having me do it, because then you get the truth compared to what he's telling you or what his broker is telling you. Basic, what a name for a YouTuber. I'm in Arizona and looking at a laundromat in the East Valley. Great. Good for you. Wonderful. Get my course or stop doing what you're doing. Paul says, I'm in the Chicago suburbs. What's the least amount of money do I need to get an almost free laundromat? Nothing is the least amount, Paul. Once you do this 6, 7, 8 times, you learn what I know and what I've been teaching and training and mentoring people about is the fact that you need nothing to do this. But Paul, what you do need to do now is get the silly course. Why? Because otherwise you're spinning your wheels. You might wait 6 months, 6 days, 6 years, and then once you finally do, all the gaps will be filled in. Paul, I don't give a shit about your few dollars. Ask anybody here who's seen it. I work very hard on that course. Last changed it this week because I want to under promise and over deliver with each and every one of you. That's in my nature. So for a few bucks, you're going to say, oh, Jesus, okay, this makes sense. And then you'll plug it into that store in Chicago and how it makes sense to you. Wisdom Seeker, I'm looking to our calls today. Okay, thanks. You don't need to give your name and all that stuff. Wonderful. Here I am wasting time on YouTube. Does it work in Canada? George. Basic. Can you help point me in the right direction, sir? I'm open for a meeting conference call. Get the course is the right direction, basic. Everyone will tell you that. How big should laundromats be? Oh boy, how many machines? I don't mind the questions, guys, but again, and I'm not the dickhead that's going to say it's in the course, it's in the course, it's in the course. Goodbye. But it is. Every bit of it. You don't want a store with less than 25 washers. Good morning, Danny. King of laundry and louts. Yes, Jody, that's me. Good point. Says, what's his face? Don't know what I said. Sofa King Rad. I work with a mall. I work with a mall with a laundry that the mall won't renew the lease to anybody but me. The place has junk gear and it's a drug den. How can the mall break the lease? What would Danny do? I work with a mall with a laundry. If you're still watching this, bud, what do? You work with the mall how? Are you a realtor? You're giving me very little information. Are you the security guard? You running off kids with skateboards? That the mall won't renew the lease with anybody but you. Okay. The place has junk gear and it's a drug den. How can the mall break the lease? They don't need to break the lease. The mall needs to look at the lease. It's either expiring at some point down the road or they're month to month. If they've been late, again, it's in the course. If they've been late or in arrears, they've already broken the lease. Just about any lease can be looked at, poked and prodded, and holes can be found from either side. Trust me, you don't have to be an attorney. I prefer 5-page leases because I'm signing those 5-page leases. The landlord prefers 75-page leases. More is more for them. Less is more for us. And again, for your sake, dude, not for mine, for your sake, get the silly course. See if this even makes sense for you in whatever you do with the mall. Eric says, course is absolutely worth it. Thank you, at the very least. Thank you, Danny, says Paul. You're welcome, Paul. Thanks for the feedback, Danny. Appreciate your help. Of course, Jorge. I proved security, he said. So he provides security. So I was right about that. So you're the security guy. He redacted it. He's going to rewrite it. Dude, you can email me. You can give me some specifics on the stuff and things. You, I assume, were looking at the laundromat and you're saying, this is a total piece of crap. It's a drug den. Well, that's on you, bud. You're the security for the place. Fix it. Take care of it. Do you know the best way to keep the homeless and the druggies out of there? Customers. And you're not going to do that. A properly run laundromat will do that. Exactly that. Hey, Danny, I'm from the East Coast, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. To be specific, just turned 22. Good for you. I'm a young, aspiring entrepreneur business owner. I'm looking forward to grabbing your course. We'll do it right now, Nathan. Don't look forward. Look back to 10 minutes ago when you did it. I appreciate each and every one of you. What we're going to do now, I'm going to go send the email in reference to this call. If you're the kind of person that fast forwards to the end of a YouTube video and you're saying, oh, I wonder what just happened. Well, we had a stellar cold call that equaled a letter of intent at 50 cents per square foot, and a free laundromat will or will not be dropping into my client's lap. Where are you in your process? Hope is a dangerous thing, said no one ever. I hope that you have everything that you want and need in your life. I do. But if you're here because there's something missing, if it's money, then own the business, whatever that business is. If you work for a trucking company for 30 years, you should have been spending about 8 minutes figuring out how that company works and how to go take it over or build your own. Sorry, not sorry. 30 years? Making someone at the top money? No thanks. I have Laundromats as a plan for you. If you're new to the channel, start with the simplest thing. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the little button so you won't miss these lives. Go watch my 1,000 YouTube videos. You want to go further? You want to take a little leap? Guaranteed course. Always has been. Not guaranteed to get you a laundromat. I don't know you. Guaranteed you'll know how. Always has been. Grab it. What then? Well, if you're on here and you've already seen it, let's get on the phone. I do that too. Comment in the video something about security. Ciao.